Thank you for joining us. This is our very last EcoEssence event for the year, our last professional development series event for the year. So thank you all for coming. Please give yourselves a hand for showing up. So here's our agenda for today. We will have some opening remarks. We'll do a safety moment. We'll have an introduction of our speaker. She will then speak to us, and then we'll tell you a little bit about what we have going on for the rest of the year. We won't have any more events here, but we have one last event that will be outside of work. So after we talk to you about that, then we'll have closing remarks. Okay, so before we get started, this is our value proposition. So this is what we like to have, what we like to call our elevator speech for EcoEssence. So whenever someone says, so what is EcoEssence all about? So what does that really mean? What do you do? So we go by this acronym, which is DEEP. We want everybody to go deep with EcoEssence. So we are, as EcoEssence, a powerful group of progressive leaders who understand how to leverage diversity within the company. We deliver strategic leadership, and one of the main things that we've been focusing on for this year is recruitment and retention. So we are very big on that. The second part of the acronym is elevating Ecolab's brand. So a lot of what we've been talking about this year is how do we get the word out about the ERG? How do we brand us a little bit better? Because people don't necessarily always know where to go and how to find us and how to get more information about us. So we're usually trying to, we've been talking about several different alternatives for how we can continue to elevate our brand. The other E is for effectively advocating for professional development, which is what we are very big on here in Greensboro. We do a lot of professional development events. Hopefully you came to our last one, which was the career panel. And that was one of our popular events for the year. And then lastly, we want to promote Ecolab as a civic partner through community outreach. We, as Ecolab, are very huge on community outreach, so EcoEssence feels the same way about it. So anytime you think about us, we want you to think about getting deep with EcoEssence. So next, we will have a safety moment by Johnny Calvin.
Thank you, Zanitra, and good afternoon, everyone. So by no surprise, today is October 31st, so I thought it fitting to do a safety moment on Halloween safety. Thought I'd start out with some interesting facts that maybe you did not know as it relates to Halloween. And so the first one there, Halloween is more Irish than St. Patrick's Day. I was actually having a conversation with one of our global leaders, and he happens to be from Ireland and shared that with me. So it has its roots in Ireland, and again, it's more Irish than St. Patrick's Day. The second one is that jack-o'-lanterns were originally carved from beets and potatoes and turnips, and the reason for that is because in Europe and Ireland they did not have pumpkins, and so they would use these vegetables to carve things, and then they soon realized that pumpkins were bigger and better, and there's a whole story behind the whole jack-o'-lantern, which I won't get into the details here, but that is again where they originated. Originally you had to dance for your treat, so there were groups that would choreograph plays and music and things like this, and they would go door to door. I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have much candy if I had to do that, but and then the last one is that some animal shelters do not allow the adoption of black cats as when it's close to Halloween, and the reason for that is because for fear of them being sacrificed. So this is something that is slowing down, but I thought that was a very interesting thing. But one thing I think that's really more interesting than even all of these is that twice as many children are killed walking on Halloween, and so that was the inspiration behind the safety moment. So if we go to the next slide, I wanted to share some tips for you. Many of us probably don't trick or treat, but maybe you have children that do. And even if you don't, we drive, and we'll probably be driving this evening and be amongst all the trick or treaters. So the first one is that we want to make sure that we keep our kids visible. So using glow sticks, reflective tape, lights, anything that can make them more visible will help with the number of fatalities that we have from children while they're trick-or-treating. Another one is to choose face paint or makeup over mask. I was actually listening on the radio this morning, and they were talking about, when we were kids, how we had to suffer through those sharp masks, those sharp plastic masks. I see nodding of heads, so you're familiar with those. But it's always better to use the makeup or face paint because, masks can obstruct, views and leads to trip and falls and other things there. The third one is when selecting your children's costume is to make sure that they fit. Again, something that can lead to trips and falls. Most of you, unless you're last-minute Halloween shoppers, probably already have your costumes. But again, I think these are some good tips to keep in mind. And then the last one, like I said, whether you're going to be involved or have kids or not, we all drive. And so it's important for us to slow down and be watchful for kids at intersections. Just last night through my community, it was a daycare center. I was like, it's not Halloween yet, but it was a daycare center. And you see kids coming through the cars and those kind of things. There's a lot of excitement. It says for kids, especially kids, but I say even the adults as well are very into this. So I just wanted to share some tips here that we can all use as we go about and enjoying the Halloween day. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny, for the safety moment. So next we will have Tola Abe to introduce our speaker. And I want everybody to just really kind of take in what Vanessa has to share with us today. She has a different perspective on how we can be our true selves at work. So a little bit different than what we usually are used to. We're used to very corporate speak, but she's kind of going to give us more information about us as people. So I really want you to take that in and listen to what she has to say.
Okay. Dr. Vanessa Abernathy is a clinical psychologist and a certified life coach, providing services to individuals, couples, families, and children in her Greensboro, North Carolina private practice. In addition to her private practice, she is also a much sought after public speaker with experience in conducting workshops on topics such as managing stress and anxiety, and I am kind of anxious right now, motivation, goal settings, and avoiding procrastination, which I'm really interested to hear about. Please give us a warm welcome to Dr. Vanessa Abernathy.
Good afternoon. So when I first walked in, I thought, oh, wow, I'm going to have to use my teacher voice. I used to teach public school. I've taught in the university, and I've been in college counseling centers in California and here in North Carolina. But the beauty is that it looks like most of you have eaten early enough that you've probably digested everything, and hopefully the sugar is rushing back to your brain. I saw all kinds of treats around here today, and I'm really counting on those stimulants to kick in, all right? The other thing that I do is I'm very interactive. I don't like to be lectured to. I really like to have conversations, so I do appreciate it if you would talk back to me. I will ask you to. And I will also encourage you to speak to the person next to you. So go ahead and look at them and say, I'm glad you're sitting here, even if you're not glad to sit next to me. No, I'm glad that wasn't repeated. So let's just get started. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. Anyone ever heard of that? All right, I won't ask you anyone besides me who's ever struggled with that. Okay, see, confession is good for the soul. So we're going to talk about what is it? What is imposter syndrome? What is it really? These things are often thrown around in the media. All the sitcoms and some of the worst cartoons talk about imposter syndrome. It's not something that you're going to be diagnosed and give any medication for. It's just a cluster of behaviors, thoughts, and ways of being that become issues and interfere with what we're trying to do. So we're going to really try to get clear on what that is. And the second thing we're going to do is we're going to really think about why does that matter here in this setting, right? You're thinking this is professional development. That's probably something I struggled with as a child, but there are ways that it can kill the career even now. And then the third thing we're going to do is figure out some things that we can actually do about it. Anyone who's here wants to leave with something. I didn't have any treats, and I'm definitely not going to trick you, okay? So our title is The Imposition of Imposter Syndrome. An imposition is something that is not generic and naturally occurring. It's trickery, it's a hoax. There are all kinds of hoax on the internet right now, but it's something that's added to that really deceives us. And so the subtitle is Tricks or Treats of High Achieving Intellectuals. And so you might thinking, some of you overachievers, you're like, oh yes, this is for me. I showed up at the right presentation. And then others of you may be trying to tune me out. You're like, oh, she's not talking to me. But if you just stop and think about the work that you've done from this morning till now, there are countless people who don't know what you know. Anybody agree with that? Yes, countless. I don't know what you know. I do have some children that were raised, they've been in Montessori their whole life, and so they do a lot of eco-education. And so I imagine my 7-year-old knows a lot about something that you do, but most people don't know what you do. And what you do is directly tied to life and well-being. And there are a lot of regulations, right? I won't even go into that. Some people are like, I don't want to mention regulations. So the first thing, has anyone ever snuck into the movie theater, ever in your life? I'm not the movie police. I'm just trying to go somewhere. All right. Anyone, tell me, what was that like? What did you feel? Excitement. There was some adrenaline, some adventure. We know which person that was. A thrill. What about, did you ever have anyone with you that was really nervous about it and they went with you? How do you imagine they felt? Paranoid, scared. Anything else? How did you know they were paranoid? That's a good one. They kept looking around. The screen's up here. They weren't able to focus or be present. Yes. So you were able to sneak in. And when I speak French, I'm not speaking French today. I really mean me too. We got in without tickets. And especially if you go to one show and then you just kind of slither around and get into the next show. We were in without tickets. And because we showed up without tickets, we were constantly worried about being penalized. There was a bouncer or there was an usher, someone who knew that we did not belong and was prepared within their rights to remove us from the situation, right? So look to the person next to you and say, you're not going to be removed today. And John didn't reassure me of that, but I'm going on good faith here, okay? So without a ticket, you do have this sense of paranoia, all right? So what you may not be able to see from here, there are a group of colleagues, and this woman here, she has given a presentation, and she has a number 1 and a gold goblet in her hand. So apparently it was stellar. But over here, the people are saying, great job, well done, congrats. All the praise, all the accolades, what we know to be positive feedback. But in her mind, you can't see that little air bubble. She's like, I blew it. I ruined it. Okay? This is where we're going with imposter syndrome. So what is it? And I had a game that we were going to play, but for the sake of time, we're not going to play it. It's really imposter syndrome bingo. There's a doctor who created this as an icebreaker, and it was just to kind of normalize some of this. So go ahead and tell the person next to you, you're normal, you're normal. Come on, stay with you. I told you I'm going to need you to talk with me. So if you know someone who's ever said this, we're just kind of got to play the hand game and just raise your hand. If you've ever known someone who said this, no one in this company, right? But all those other companies. And you're just going to raise your hand if you've ever heard this. So things like a belief that I was admitted or hired because of some kind of mistake, like it was a fluke. Some of us who are in organizations, sororities, fraternities, I skated in. That's what we're thinking, right? Or, someone made a mistake in the filing department and they pulled my application. I always hide or downplay my accomplishments. Someone said, great job. Oh, girl, I threw that together at the last minute. That was, that was horrible. You hear that. And hearing that, it pulls on you, right? I panic before a test, presentation, performance, or interview. Like literally, my brain is hijacked. I forget what I know. It's hard to concentrate. My stomach gets all upset. Anyone? Yes. Yes, thank you for that honesty back there in the back too. All right? I believe I should be able to do everything myself. Oh my gosh, depending on our family, if we're the oldest and we're the go-to person, even though you live 300 miles away, everyone's calling you and you're not even in that profession anymore, but you're the resident expert. Anybody? So you get this misbelief that I should be able to do everything myself. I'm not going to talk to my superior. I'm not going to talk to my colleagues. I should be able to figure this out. All right? I often do not voice my opinion. So if there's a team effort or a group project, I don't bring up my ideas. And the problem in that is that everyone has a different perspective. And there's certain pieces of information that you're going to see that I'm not going to see, right? And so with this, we imagine that what I see about myself is very small, right? I'm really a fraud, and it's just a matter of time before I'm bounced out of the theater. And so I don't think that I can contribute anything of value. I qualify my questions or comments. This may be stupid, but, or this may not be right, but they're very timid. We don't own much of anything, right? And so it makes the people around us feel a little uneasy. You couldn't enjoy that movie with someone always looking over their shoulders, because then you're reminded, oh, maybe I should be scared too, okay? So I should automatically get it. I hold back when working in a group or team, as I've mentioned. I assume when people compliment me, they're just being nice or they're obligated. They're supposed to say that. As a therapist and a coach, I get that a lot. And I have to remind people, I choose, now that I'm in private practice, I choose who sits across the room from me. I love it. All right? So all of these links are going to be available for you. So I'm glad you're just sitting here taking it in. We have a PDF for you, and these links will be live for you as well. So imposter syndrome is a pervasive feeling. Everybody say with me, feeling. Somebody might even sing that. Of self-doubt, insecurity, incompetence, despite the evidence that we are skilled and successful. There's true evidence, right? So high achievers are we. That over here, that's my little Bitmoji. That's me up in the screen, and it's saying, I don't know what to do. I think that's what it says. I can't read it from here. But most of the time, it's high achievers, people who have gone from one level to the next. There are people who are sitting here now, and this company didn't just let any and everyone in, right? I had to put on a badge. You know, I was encouraged to keep my hands clean and remain, right? You just can't get in here. But as an imposter, someone who struggles with imposter syndrome, you have already been able to get the job. You're already able to show up, but there's certain situations or people that kind of intimidate us, right? Maybe it's a new project, maybe it's a promotion, and it's intimidating. So usually in the face of those intimidating tasks or people, self-doubt, insecurity, feeling of being an intellectual imposter, right? Especially if you had any kind of hookup, any networking. Networking is the way for most things nowadays, right? You go to a networking event, someone talks to you, they talk to someone else. In basketball, we call that an assist. The person who scores the assist, we keep track of that, but who gets the MVP award? Come on, talk back to me. The shooter, whoever scores the basket, all right? So even though you may have had some outside assistance, a connection here, a conversation there, you're the one staying in the position and getting the job. And I want to just let you in. I know the people around here, I love this setting because everyone is here at different levels of management and participation in this company. And so I want to let you in on a secret. Even the people up top, they feel this too. They asked me not to tell you, but I had to tell you. Okay? So our perceptions, our judgments, and beliefs. So we believe things about ourselves that we are inadequate, and we believe that everyone can see it. When really, you may see a part of who I am, you may see a part of who I am, and together you might have a squinted picture, but no one can really see. Okay? So it's almost as if they have X-ray vision. So we also have difficulty internalizing and accepting our own success. We don't take it in. We attribute it to luck. Or despite our learning, we had to learn, we had to have an interview, we had to take some tests, get some certifications, and despite the levels of ability that we were able to climb. So we have this fear of being found out. Remember, we snuck in without a ticket. We didn't pay the price, and we're afraid of being exposed. So it's about fearing the bouncers and not really feeling like we belong. All right? Now, why is this even important? Thoughts and beliefs and feelings matter. Okay? So everyone say thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. Okay. So thoughts, when we think about imposter syndrome, there are these automatic negative thoughts. You're not thinking that when they invite you into the meeting, oh, I think I'm going to focus on how inadequate I feel. No, these things happen automatically. And they're kind of like birds. I always tell my clients, when we talk about this, that if a bird were to fly in here right now, we couldn't control that. I'm sure you have a team for that. But could we stop that bird? Like, are we responsible? Are we to blame? No, not unless we lured it in. We're not to blame. But if that bird circles around and builds a nest in our heads, how many of you know we're responsible? And that's what these negative thoughts are. We allow them to visit. Okay, so when someone visits, we feed them. We offer them something to drink, something to eat. We want them to stay a while. And a lot of times when these negative thoughts come, that's what we do. We entertain them. We hold on to them. So beliefs, I love words, and I am learning American Sign Language, and one of the words that really stuck out to me was belief. And belief, there's my teacher over there, so I'm having an imposter syndrome moment, but a belief is really a thought that you hold on to, okay? So when you think about these negative thoughts that just kind of fly around, if we hold on to them, ruminate on them, rehearse them, we repeat them out of our mouths, that's when they become really ingrained, and it's hard for anything good to get in there. So instead of beliefs, they're really misbeliefs, right? So we believe that we're inadequate, we're incompetent, and that we're a failure despite our evidence of skill and success. And now I highlight skill here because honestly, we all have skills that we use. We often have to switch skill sets within a day, within an hour, within one conversation. And sometimes there is an area that we set a goal for and maybe we're not meeting. Maybe there's a professional development plan that was outlined during our last evaluation, and we really need to be working on that before this time next year, right? Is that honest? So maybe there's some room for some development, but this is a complete denial of that. So there are the birds that are flying around. We can't stop the birds, the automatic negative thoughts, they're out there. But then the birds come into view and we feed them. We entertain them. We don't have to hold on to those thoughts. And we definitely don't want them to build a nest in our heads. Is this helping anybody? All right, I see you kind of glazing over a little bit. I'm going to try to make it now as entertaining as I can, but this is for information, education, and I can be a little bit entertaining. All right, so thoughts, beliefs, and feelings matter. Now, if you look up here, there are some power balls. We just had that in our region. Was it Mega Millions my best friend called me from Ohio to see if she needed to go to work that day. I was like, honey, you better go to work because I'm on my way there. And then there's the 4-leaf clover. This is all the luck. This is all the chance that we really believe. And if you really believe that you're in your current position by chance or by luck, do you really believe you have the strategy to do it again? Right? When you get the promotion, do I have what it takes? Instead of thinking, well, whatever it took for me to get there, someone else besides me believes that I should be able to be here. I tell my clients, and I'm honest about it, because I don't like playing guess what's in Vanessa's head. I really believe that they're the experts on them, and I'm an expert on how to support someone who's dealing with this or other issues. And so I said, sometimes I feel stupid, but there are people who call me doctor. And there were a lot of professors along the way who really would have stopped me if I were incompetent. I saw that in my program. right? So there are a lot of checks and balances. There are a lot of gatekeepers. That's what that picture is. It's a gate. There are a lot of gatekeepers along the way, right? So feelings aren't either good or bad. Say that with me. Feelings are neither good nor bad. They just are. But they can override the truth, right? I feel stupid, but the truth is there's some things I know that other people don't and that people will pay me to share with them. That's the truth. It can impact our perception. All right, so I want everyone to hold up your thumb and face it towards this. You've probably seen this a million times. But we're talking about perception and we're talking about truth, right? So I want you to continue to pull your thumb back until it covers that screen. It's bigger than that screen in your perception. All right. Now, in truth, now you pulled it back. Were you able to cover the screen for the most part? Anybody able to do that? Raise your hand. See, I told you we had all these high achievers. All right. But in truth, it's not bigger than that screen. So perception matters. So when we think about luck, it's not about luck. And this isn't about elementary days when we were the last one picked to play kickball. Or, we totally ignore the learning that we had to do. You know jargon and language and terms that I don't. You had to learn that. You had to practice that. Because when your coworker comes to you, you need to know what they're talking about. Okay? And so you paid to get in. You didn't sneak in. And actually, they pay you to stay here. That's a good sign. People don't pay for what they don't value. All right? So your employers actually had a choice. Right? So go ahead and look at the person, that one that's been looking at you funny. Tell them, they chose me. And then our body sometimes betrays us. Sometimes when we feel uneasy, we feel nervous, our heart starts to race, it tells us, you don't know what you're doing. You're not going to be able to handle this. You're going to pass out. You're going to look silly. You're going to look crazy. You're going to be out of control. And so there are ways, mindfulness and relaxation techniques that can help you take that system and make it be more at rest. All right? So here's the hard facts right here. This is why this matters. This really can kill our careers. According to an APA article written in 2017, these are the pieces that really stand out for those of us who are committed to our careers, we care about getting a paycheck, and we want some development. People who are overcome with imposter syndrome are paid less. They're less likely to be promoted. Because if I bring something to you and you're saying, well, it might be right, but, or this might be stupid, but if there's always this self-doubt, and I know, for some of us, it comes from that, trophies from everyone. That's not our generation, but our kids now. Everybody gets a trophy. Yeah, that's really not psychologically sound or healthy. I know some men are out there like nodding now, like, I wish somebody had said that. So the truth is, and then sometimes you've been in an interpersonal situation where someone betrayed you or they hurt you, and from there you start to second guess yourself. And so as you develop, you lean too much on your colleagues, and you don't really carry your own weight. That's really one of the detrimental pieces of that. So feeling less committed and satisfied, right? Because if it's not me that's keeping me here, I could be let go. The bouncer can come at any time. So I'm really not satisfied. I can't enjoy this movie. I can't eat my popcorn because I stole my way in. I snuck in. They made a mistake, and they're going to figure it out. All right? Undermining our career development because we don't even seek the new openings or the promotions. We second guess ourselves, and we question the basic things we already know. Tell that person, that other person, you already know this. We procrastinate, OMG. We procrastinate because we have that perfectionism, and it makes us sick, literally. And we're right ready. Somebody's laughing. I think that was over there. It happens. Or we overwork. And none of that is good for our health. It's not good for the system. And it's really something that those who have supervision over us, they don't want to see that because they know that that's going to wear out really soon. Okay? So we say to ourselves, failure or making a mistake is not an option. And when we think about it, most of the great thinkers of the world made thousands of mistakes, like Ben Franklin. You've heard that. They got it wrong so many times, but then they got it right. And so when we make a mistake, we learn. Okay, so that actually was an image of, anybody recognize that? Price is Right. You spin and you may or may not. We're not spinning here. We got this, all right? Now, how do you tackle this? Because we don't want to have this trickery. We don't want this hoax. We want to expose the hoax. How do we tackle the trickery of imposter syndrome? One, we have to normalize these feelings. And I already gave you the spoiler alert. The most intimidating people in this room, they're not intimidators. But because of their position or the way they carry themselves, they even too have experienced that at least once, one time or another. It's just never announced in the company newsletter, right? So Robinson says in that APA article that 70% of people feel like fakes at one time or another. If not in this career, then in our education or in sports. I know I did when I was on the softball team. Acknowledge the thoughts and actively choose. So we talked about the birds, but let's say we have this automatic negative thought. One of the things we can do is just acknowledge the thought and say, I'm having the thought that, instead of saying, I'm stupid, I say, I'm having the thought that I'm stupid, or that I'm really not going to do a great job in my performance evaluation. So I acknowledge it. Pushing it down really doesn't help. This is why I tell people, if you eat something bad, it's going to come out one of two ways, right? But if you experience something negative, like these thoughts all the time, they don't just go away. Eventually, they pop up in the most inappropriate times and ways. And an interview is the most inappropriate time, right? So you acknowledge it, I'm having a thought that, and then you clearly turn to the evidence. And where do we get some of this? So we have to stop believing other people's highlight reels. Social media, no one posts pictures of the argument they just had with their partner. No one, not many people, I like the Bonnet Chronicles on Instagram, but no one really takes photos of themselves without their makeup and their hair and their nails. They don't do it. They don't post the nails that are all cracked and you're going in to get a repair. They just don't do it. They don't post that golf score that really looked like putt-putt golf. They just don't, all right? So we have to stop believing their highlight reels and their hashtags. And we have to replay our own highlight reels. In football, you see every good team, even the poor teams, they have to replay. Okay, what's not working well, but what did work well, and how can we enhance that? We've seen some of the underdogs come up. Yay, Eagles. All right? So maybe there's a keepsake. Like for me, I had a really, really tough internship. I mean, I got the best training there is for children along the autism spectrum, but psychologically and socially, it was, and I'm not even gonna name any names, but from top down. But I keep that photo, my graduation photo, with my cohort, those other psychologists and that lead psychologist, and I tell myself, if I can get through that, I can get through this, right? So we have keepsakes. Maybe there's a memento that we could do, or some continuing education. We have to celebrate our successes. We already talked about the shooter versus the assist, not minimizing that, okay? So there's some gatekeepers, some checks and balances, our annual reviews. We can go there for evidence, okay? They're paid to tell us how we're doing. So here's an image. I'm here, you're not. We see that and we feel inadequate. But we forget that we had to go from one level to the next. And here's a memento of Mount Rushmore. I've never been there, but if you have been there and you see that, it's going to take you back to that time. So find a memento and put it at your desk or your cubicle or your locker, okay? And create your own hashtags. Tackling it, all right? Act as if. We say this a lot in psychotherapy, because anxiety is about a lot of what ifs. What if this? Oh, but what if that? Oh, what if this? What if this? What if this? And by the end of the day, we're unemployed and we have nothing and no one wants to talk to us. But if we would just stop those and act as if, identify the feelings and manage them in the moment, say something. Maybe we imitate confidence. When the show Scandal was out, I saw this behind the scenes interview with Kelly Washington, Kerry Washington, thank you. And she talked about the character of Olivia Pope. You can tell when she felt vulnerable because she would wear a double-breasted suit, some hard lines, really more of those costumes. She wasn't soft and frilly. She really was going with her armor on. And so if you feel a certain type of way, then do something to project that confidence. And the more you practice it, you'll get more evidence of the reality of your success and your skills. Saying thank you. Some people can never take a compliment. When you say thank you, you're agreeing with that person. And it's okay to agree with them. They gave it. You didn't say, I look good today. And that's okay too. That's healthy. But if someone says, you really are doing a great job around here. I really like the effort you made to our team. Oh, well, everybody, I was just one person. Okay, won't go there again, right? So just say thank you instead of blocking the compliments. And consider having a coach or a mentor or an accountability partner, someone to give you some honest feedback. Oh, our references got all jumbly-lumbly, but we'll fix that. I think this is when I turn it into a PDF. But all the links are there. You can read up on this. There's an excellent book also that I'll share. Any questions, comments, or considerations for me? Any one thing you're taking with you that stands out or you hadn't thought about before, or really, I'll send you a survey link so I won't put you on the spot. You have something? Normalizing the feelings.
Yes, that's something that's pretty hard to do most of the time when you're in the situation.
Yes.
So taking a second to really do that, I think would benefit me. I don't know about anybody else, but it definitely benefit me.
Yes, because that system that we're responding to happens automatically. We don't say, oh, I want to make my heart rate go up. It all happens so fast, but when we stop and we really grab those thoughts and say, hey, I am feeling uncertain. I am worried about my standing. I am, and I do feel guilty because I didn't take that, last course or that last certification, and that really helped me tweak this area. But really normalizing that this is normal. So many people experience it. Okay? Anything else that stood out? All right. Yes.
Is imposter syndrome? Is it something in your DNA or it comes or gets you during your childhood?
That's a great question. Sometimes it can come from being socialized, as I mentioned, getting rewarded for everything. Like if you say, you're so smart, you're so pretty, well, where do I have to go from there? And what happens when I don't look the way that I look now? Am I not smart? Am I not pretty? When I face that next, when I get to calculus and I'm having a hard time, am I now dumb? No. You praise our children in a way that says, the consistent effort you gave, I'm really proud of that. You went from here to there, and you did that, not because of some objective compliment that I gave. So really, when you give compliments, say you are, and not I think, because they'll just chalk it up to you. Oh, she always says that I'm smart, or she always, or he always says that I'm pretty. He's trying to take me out. But if someone says you're beautiful, your character, you are very courageous, you're very loyal, you're whatever it is. So that's one way. And then sometimes when we are survivors of like family abuse or interpersonal violence, this is the last day of domestic violence awareness, and that's one of my areas of interpersonal expertise. When you are betrayed in those most intimate places, it can cause a lot of uneasiness. And maybe if it wasn't even verbal abuse, being told that you're nothing or that you're stupid or you ought to be able to get this or you should be just like your brother, things like that, which cause that comparison, because I could never be my brother, but I have strengths and weaknesses, and so does he. And so ways to kind of think about how we relate can make a difference. Yeah. So there's all kinds of different ways. If you read those, it'll tell you some of the other ways of where it comes from. But those are some of the key ones. And some of us are predisposed to it. Like if you had a worrier as a parent and they make you anxious, Hope my mom doesn't see this, but whenever we say we're coming to Durham, she texts 5 times in a row, and I already told her what time. And so I just say, I answer the first one, and then I let her know when I'm on the road, and I let her see my GPS, and I send it to my dad too so that he can remind her. And I just don't respond, because otherwise I'm taking on that pressure too, right? So I have a great mom. All right, thank you so much. And I will send out the survey it'll be anonymous. I really appreciate your feedback, because one of the things that is a value of mine is to be able to support people right where they are, whether it's in the home or on their jobs and in the things that they're trying to build and develop. So I'd appreciate that as well. If you need my cards, I have some there, and I have some here at the podium. Thank you.
Did everybody learn something today? Yay! So did you learn sign language? Belief? Can everybody do belief? Think? Belief? So good. I am very glad that you all came, and we want to talk next about what is upcoming for EcoEssence, and then we'll have John to come up and do some closing remarks for us.
Afternoon, everybody. Just to highlight some of the events. The major events we've done for the year, of course, have already happened, but we do have our end of the year celebration coming up. Still working on the date and location. For those that came last year, it was a social event where we had an opportunity to celebrate the successes of the things we did, but also have an opportunity to fellowship and network outside of work, give us an opportunity just to get to know one another. And we plan to do something similar this year. It's also an opportunity just to become more involved if you're interested in EcoEssence, if you want to participate, and it gives you a chance to look at some of the positions we have open. For those that are part of the mailbox, you saw that we have 4 leadership positions coming open next year. We have community outreach, which we know is all near and dear to all of us, typically leading some of the events, our big one being Habitat for Humanity. We have technology. I'm praying for somebody to come join with technology. You saw me sweating bullets, scratching my head over there. Technology is not my forte. We also are adding finance as well as professional development. And even if you're not able to be on the leadership team, but you just want to participate, we have committee opportunities as well where you can just be a part of it and just join in with what we're trying to do with EcoEssence. So as part of that end of year event, that's one of the things we'll be doing, along with the fellowship and networking. It'll just be an opportunity to share ideas, events, ideas, things that you have that we could possibly do for next year. We'll all be open to that. Dr. Abernathy, thank you for coming. We appreciate your words of wisdom and encouragement. Food for thought is very much appreciated. And second, before I go, Aggie Pride to everyone. Happy homecoming for those that are going to Central. Okay, good luck. For those that have been, you understand why our excitement is. Homecoming is a lovely time, and it's a great friendship. If you've never been, consider this your invitation from an Aggie ambassador. Please come down and see us. Enjoy yourselves, and you're welcome to it. Well, thanks again. I appreciate everybody for coming, and be on the lookout for our end of the year event. And now we'll pass it to our executive sponsor for some remarks.
All right. Well, thank you, Tremaine. And homecoming for the Minnesota Gophers was 2 weeks ago. So anyone that wants to come to homecoming, we're already too late. We missed it. So next year, we'll get everybody up to Minnesota. So, first off, thank you, Dr. Abernathy, for coming in. When you think of the topic today, I kind of relate it back to the business update that we just had for QSR today. And a big part of what we talked about was that we're having a great year. We're having a lot of success as an organization. And if you were tuned into the call, you heard that it's because of the people that are part of our business that makes us successful. We highlighted a handful of individuals from Renee and Scott Hesse, young, handsome Ralph, right? All of those individuals that we recognized, but we also talked about it was the whole team that came together. So they were the MVP, they were the shooter, but it was actually the entire team that comes together to make that a reality. And so when you talk about the imposter syndrome and the self-doubts that might creep in, I think as an overall organization here, it happens. It happens to all of us. But I think as we work to try and manage through that, have the confidence, because guess what? We do a nice job, which means we really do know what we're doing. We really do have the ability to be successful, because we wouldn't be as an organization successful if we didn't, right? Now, I have made the commitment that my partner was not going to be removed today. That's not necessarily true for tomorrow, Steve Reed. So I do want to thank everybody for coming in for this session. So it is sponsored by EcoEssence. EcoEssence is really about driving professional development. Everybody should be willing and able and wanting to drive professional development in all ways. This is one way that I don't think everybody thinks about when they think development. We think development, we go to a training class, we go learn how to type, we go to how to learn some other skill. And far too often, we forget about development is also developing the confidence in the skills that we already have. And knowing that we have them and we can apply that to grow and drive our career. And so that's really how we see this tie-in with Dr. Abernathy's session. There's multiple ways of developing, and one way you have to develop first is your own self-confidence, right? You're doing a great job. We have the skills. We're a successful organization. So thank you for all of the team members putting this together. Tremaine and your technology skills, thank you very much. And look forward to a great calendar of events for next year as we drive it. And for those that want to participate in the end of the year celebration, please sign up and do so. So thank you all for coming in for the session today. If you do have opportunities to talk to Dr. Abernathy afterwards, please stay around. She'll be here for a few minutes, I'm sure. We can coax her into staying. But thank you all for coming in for today's session. Thank you very much.